Now we're going to get the freeze dryer set up for the next batch, which is 552. So the second batch after that first 500-pound set. I don't know exactly what we're going to call this, but I think we'll get started on a batch. And by the time I get this edited, I'll probably know what we're calling these next sets. Maybe it's the next 500 pounds. So there's the water from the cilantro lime pulled pork and the white bean chicken chili. So about 2/3 of a gallon. That's a great size batch. That doesn't overload anything. The oil stays clean for a very long time with a little bit less water like that. So we'll get it set up and pre-cooling. It won't take a long time to pre-cool. The next thing is going to be more of the blocks that are sitting in the freezer that are already frozen from previous batches. Got the thermometer underneath there. Going to get the front disc in place and get this fan out of there. So it doesn't need to pre-chill that long, and the newer machines, you don't have some of these options to decide how long to pre-cool for your frozen things. I like to make sure that it's at least as cold as the stuff coming out of the freezer so it doesn't warm up at all. Our freezer is generally somewhere between -5 and +5, so I aim for about 10 degrees actually. By the time I have all the food on the trays and moved over here, usually they've warmed up a little bit, so they're close to 10 degrees. So as long as I have this below 10 degrees, I'm happy. And even 20 degrees isn't too bad as long as it's dropping quickly. So we'll get it set. Drain valve is closed, and I'm not using start, I'm using customize, and start custom, and continue. So half hour to an hour, it'll be cold enough. Right now underneath the thermometer underneath the bottom shelf says it's about 75 degrees. So that's pretty warm for me. Usually it's below 70 when I start it because the room temperature is usually cooler, but we've had a lot of hot temperatures lately and it's soared clear up into the 70s. Inside here, outside it's 100. As soon as that's cooled a bit, we'll get the food on the trays and get it in there. Let's go find out what we're going to put in. The freeze dryer's been pre-cooling for about 2 hours now. The shelf probe says -34 and the thermometer underneath says about -40. So as usual, it's way past time to get things on the trays. So tray 1. On this batch, we're doing another batch of the shrimp meat. It's the cooked peeled shrimp meat. It was a great price when I got it. It was on sale, and I could put what that cost here, but I don't know off the top of my head. So we'll get these on there. I'll get 2.5 pounds per tray for 10 pounds in the batch. Tray 1. We'll kind of squish them down. There we go. And I'm going to tuck one of the thermometers in there, trying to get it about 2/3 of the way down, because it seems to be the coldest spot when I find any ice or water in them. And tray 2, I need to get to 1881. Okay, and then thermometer in that. Tray 3, and we need to get this one to 1876. And there's a decent amount of ice in there. I'm going to try to avoid getting most of that on there. I'll just open the other bag now. And I need to get to 1884 for this one. All right, so all 4 trays are filled. Kind of squish it down a little bit. And I'm using thermometers that go down to -40 so I can make sure that they're all the way cold before I start. And they go up to at least 120 so I can make sure that they're warm before I take them out, especially if they sit overnight after they finish. and they're super cold. When I rewarm them, I want to know that they got rewarmed inside the food area, not just underneath the tray where the sensor is of the machine. So this gives me that information. But thermometers are not required, so you don't need to go out and buy any if you don't want to. There is quite a difference between the two bags of shrimp. These are much bigger than these. I don't know if it matters when I'm bagging them, but I might want to know the bigger ones from the smaller ones for different dishes. So that's really interesting. I'll have to remember to consider labeling them that way. So before I open it up to put them in, you can see it's hovering close to 40 below. It's on the verge of ridiculously cold in there, so I don't have to worry about the shrimp defrosting when I put it in there. It's going to chill nicely. So let's get them in there. We'll start at the bottom with tray 4. And we'll check these thermometers too. So that one's showing 0 degrees right now. And that one's just above 0. And that one's also about 0. And about 5 degrees, 7 degrees, somewhere in there. Okay, and it's got a ring all the way around? Nope, not quite. I'm missing this spot right here. I want to make sure I get that ring all the way around. All right, now I have a ring all the way around the seal. I know I'm not going to have air going back and forth between there and making an ice ring on there while it's pre-cooling. It's currently got about 3.5 more hours for freezing, and I can extend that if I need to. Those are quite cold and the machine is quite cold, so it should drop quickly, so 3.5 more hours should be plenty. But we can check it and see if it's cold enough. If it's not, we can add more time. If it gets cold sooner than that, I can skip more time. So I don't think I've shown this side of the machine in a while. So in the summertime, or when it's warmer, on the older machine, Harvest Right had suggested taking the side panel off to get better airflow. Well, and of course, this original side panel was pretty restrictive with the airflow. So I had re-drilled half the holes in here to make them much, much bigger and let a lot more airflow go through. And it seems to make quite a difference. I mean, it really, you can feel it pulling the air through. It's real happy with that. I do need to get an air gun in here and blow out all the dust though, off the fins, but they're doing pretty well. And so that's been, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. And the other thing is that I used to have, with the old cart, the vacuum pump used to be directly below the machine, because the cart was just about the size of the machine. And so what I did was I took out this fitting. Let me zoom in on that. I'd removed this fitting and put this elbow with the fitting on it and put it straight down, and then this fitting was reattached here, so it was going straight down, so that way I could have the vacuum hose going straight down, and I had a hole drilled through the cart top for the hose to go through. The old cart used to go straight down through. Anyway, I like this setup. It gives me good air space, gives me some table space in between there, which is always clear, and it helps draw air through here by having all this much more open. And then I also added some weather stripping tape to this whole edge. We'll be back in 2 days and check on this. It'll be just a second. Don't go away. The sea bugs are hot and toasty and almost done. It's down to just the last 16 minutes now. The pressure's low, the temperature's up, all the trays read good. We'll take them out, weigh them, put them back in for the dry check. We'll put them in there for 2 more hours. If they don't lose any weight, they were dry now. If they lose more weight, we'll put them back in until they stop losing weight. Shrimp usually dry pretty easily, but it's been about 46 hours now, so it did skip a little bit of the time. We'll get them out and test them. So arrow past the last of it. Open the drain valve. And get them out and weigh them. Oh, and then we'll switch the top 2 trays and bottom 2 trays. Make sure that they're all dry. Those are quite beautiful. Look at those little guys. So tray 1, okay. Tray 1, 920, 919, so it's bouncing down to 919. I'm going to use 919. So it's lost over 900 grams. Okay. Tray 2, 909. Okay, and then this one will go up at the top. Okay, I'm going to put tray 2 up at the top. And tray 1 down 1. Okay, tray 3. And these shrimp are considerably smaller. Look at the size difference of those. I'll have to get a better shot of those later. But these are twice the volume of each one of those. Okay, so tray 3. 915. Tray 4. 923. Okay, tray 4 will come up 1, and tray 3 will come down 1. And I'm pretty sure that they're all dry now. They felt nice and warm. I saw nothing to suggest that they weren't finished. But we're still going to put them in for 2 more hours and double check them. And it'll give me a chance to get bags labeled. Okay, so I'm going to close the drain valve. Alright, so I'm going to give it more dry time. And continue. And go. And I'm going to add, let's see. Going to add another 1.25 hours because I don't know if I can be back in 2 hours. So this will give me a chance to get 3 hours if I need to. The shrimp is almost certainly dry already. It's had plenty of time, it's nice and warm, but I'm going to double check to make sure, just in case there's some cold spot somewhere there. I probably could have stirred them around. But the shrimp looks like they're loose enough and open enough that the heat should get everywhere just fine. So we'll come back in 2 or 3 hours and double check them. If they're dry, we'll bag them. And then maybe do a taste test because these things are yummy. All right, I'll be right back. It's about 3 hours later now and everything should be really dry. It's time to take them out and check them to make sure they were dry. And if they're dry, bag them. Okay, so I'll bypass the rest of the time. I'll get the drain valve open and get them out and check them. Tray 1. Okay. So 919, so no change. So that's 3 hours. And 919, no change. And that's kind of what I expect. Tray 2, 909. Okay, tray 3. Okay. Okay, tray 4.
Yeehaw!
923. So no change on anything. So I'm gonna put no defrost. That always amazes me how much quieter it gets. If somebody says that the machine is the sound level of a dishwasher, that could be true if your head is inside the dishwasher. Otherwise, this is way too loud to be a dishwasher. If your dishwasher's like this, it's time to buy a new dishwasher. I mean, it's not terribly loud. It doesn't seem to penetrate much. My bedroom is almost right above us, and I don't have a problem with that. I can barely tell it's on. You close the doors, and it's really doesn't transmit well. But it's certainly a lot louder than any dishwasher I would put up with at all. Yeah, so get the baffle in place and my little defrost fan. And I could get the next batch going today. Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. So I'm not sure I'm going to get the next batch going today or not. We'll come back and check the time and the power usage. So it's showing 49.5 hours. I know that it was dry at least 3 hours ago because it gave it 3 more hours and it lost no weight. It could have been dry way before that, but I know for sure 46:30. The power usage on the shrimp was 32.43 kilowatt hours. I'll reset that and get it ready for the next batch. So here are the 4 trays, 1 through 4, and we'll get them bagged. But I think I'm going to make a note on the bags that the shrimp from this bag, this was one bag and this was a separate bag. These are way bigger. I mean, look at the sizes of these. Versus these. The average size of these is much bigger than these. That's an interesting thing. Yeah, those are nice. Okay, so we'll get the weights, find out how much they are per pound now in comparison to when we put them in, and get them bagged. Tray 1, so 911, tray 2, 902, tray 3, 907, 916. Be right back, don't go away. Tray 1 and 2, the weight is different than tray 3 and 4. These are only 1 gram difference dried, so it's extremely close. But those are 10 grams difference for each tray than trays 3 and 4. So I'm going to bag these separate. These are 62.2 grams per pound now, and they need 391.4 grams of water. So I'll round those off, of course. Tray 3 and 4 each tray was 10 grams heavier, so per pound, 4 grams heavier per pound. I'll add the rest of the information on the bags and we'll bag these. Batch number 552, shrimp cooked, and it's frozen meat. Put it into the freeze dryer in 8/9/22. It was 1 pound and the water loss was 391. And that may not really matter because, again, with lots of things, including most vegetables and things like shrimp and meat, they'll just absorb really what they need. Then you can just drain them. But if you're putting them in a dish where you need to have it measured out, then you know how much water to put in it. I need 62.2 grams for each one of these. Now I assume I can get 1 pound into there, which would be 2/5 of a tray. Oh, that's already more than I need, because I only need 62.2. So I need an average of 62.2. Okay, on these 2 trays, these were the ones that were slightly heavier, so these need 66.2. Okay, again, I'll split this up between all of those 5 bags. So we've got 10 bags of the shrimp. Each bag has 1 pound of shrimp, and it's 1 pound before it was freeze dried, of course. Now it's only about 62 to 66 grams. It lost most of the weight. So we'll get the oxygen absorbers in. I'm going to put 300 cc oxygen absorbers in each one of the quart bags. So I just cut that open, and the oxygen sensor, as soon as I get it, I don't know how fast that is. And these are low enough that I don't really need to worry about tucking them down the sides, but I still can. Or you can just toss them in the top. Make sure that it doesn't end up in the seal area, of course, when you go to seal it. So then I'm going to zipper it shut and push out as much air as I can. All right, I like to get them zippered as quickly as possible after I get the oxygen absorber in to help keep air from going in. But zippering these bags is no substitute for heat sealing. So next we'll heat seal them. I'm going to heat seal the bags as high up on the edge as I can so that I've got room for a couple more tries if I do a bad job on this one, or if I want to cut it open and use part of it and then reseal it. Okay, so completely sealed, nice and smooth seal. We'll get them all sealed. Okay, that one looks a bit wrinkly. I'm going to do, and it wasn't completely at the top, so I'm going to go a little bit higher and do it again. Let it cool for a second. Okay, that looks good now. Last item again before I put them in the bins, the gross weight. So 91 grams for this bag as it sits. Now, if it starts pulling in moisture, it'll get heavier, and I'll be able to put it on a scale and find out if it weighs more. And if it's bouncing like that, then I'm going to use the higher number. There should be two slightly different sets of bag weights because the one set of trays was heavier. These are ready to go in the bins. We'll get over and put them in bins. The shrimp is done. Got it bagged in 10 1-pound bags. Of course, they're not 1 pound now, but they were 1 pound of shrimp before it was freeze-dried. Now it's only a couple of ounces. It's ready to go into the bin, and I know I've got space in bin 15. I'm going to go ahead and put it here, and then we'll update the database in the computer so we can find it again later. It's an easy system to keep track of, and you could go further than we do just to keep it simpler and less lines of data. We only do by month and year. We don't go down to the actual day because we haven't seen that as a problem yet. Anyway, these will go into the bin, so let's get them in there. This is one of the little half-size bins. What is this? These are the little 12-gallon ones. So obviously these little bins don't get as much. They don't even quite get half as much. They don't even hold half as much as the bigger bin. That one's in there. Well, it's ready for the next batch. We will rehydrate some of this shrimp soon. So these are ready. Move on to the next batch. I'm not ready to cook anything with some shrimp, but I do want to do a quick rehydration with a few pieces of it. So I want to try to open it high, and hopefully I can get just through the one layer. Okay. There we go. Okay. So there's that shrimp. I'm going to just put a few pieces in there to test it. And I'm going to re-zipper that. And then I can reseal that. I think this oxygen absorber is big enough for 2 or 3 times of this. So now just some ice water. And shrimp rehydrates extremely fast. Unless you're putting it in something where the water content is important, you can just cover them and it'll absorb what it needs pretty much. So if I was putting it in something else, some dish that it's important not to overwater it, then I would weigh it out. Because I know that this whole bag, I would need 391 grams of water to rehydrate this entire bag. But again, you can just cover them with water, and with shrimp and ham and a couple of other things, that's all it needs is just a few seconds.
Yeehaw!
And it's quite good. So the texture is pretty much back to what frozen shrimp is. And they're still a little bit soft right now. And they'll firm up a little bit more over the next couple of minutes. Oh, but that'd be perfect for putting in something like butter or a shrimp dip. Anyway, with shrimp, that's all there is to it. Just a couple of seconds, really. And you've got your little cocktail shrimp back. Yeah, so I don't know what I'm going to use these for, but they would really be good in pasta dishes or anything like that. That's all there really is to those. Again, thanks for watching, and what would you make with this kind of shrimp?